Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a concept that I think really sits at the core of how we understand our lives, our actions, and, well, our whole connection to the divine plan.
We are. We're talking about the concept of Qadar.
Right. And often Qadar just gets translated into English as destiny or fate.
And that translation, well, it almost immediately traps us in a paradox, doesn't it?
It really does. Because if God has already decreed every single thing, every tiny action, then where's the space for my choice?
Exactly. Where is the room for human responsibility or even striving for something better? That intellectual tension is exactly what we're here to, I hope, dissolve.
Okay, so let's maybe unpack this with one of those classic philosophical questions that has kept people up at night.
I think I know the one you mean.
Why does fire burn? Is the burning effect, the heat, the light, is that just a continuous miracle? Is the creator inventing burn every single time I light a match?
That simple question sets the stage perfectly. Because if we look at the source material, Qadar actually means due measure and proportion.
Due measure and proportion. So not just a random command.
No, it's about the inherent properties and functions that the Creator, Al-Qadir, the All-Powerful, placed into the universe.
So the Qadar fire isn't an arbitrary command for it to burn me right now. It's about the fixed physics, the inherent design that makes it capable of giving off heat and light.
Precisely. The sources drive this home, noting that the Creator created everything and determined it with precise determination.
Which implies that everything from gravity to chemical reactions is built with stable, measurable properties.
Yes, they operate according to fixed laws. This ensures a rational, predictable cosmic environment.
Okay, that makes total sense on a cosmic level. I mean, if gravity changed every other minute, we couldn't function.
We couldn't.
But if everything is so precisely determined, I have to ask again, how does that leave room for me to choose to be a good person or a bad one?
And that really is the mission of this deep dive. We need to move beyond this idea of simple, passive fatalism.
Right.
We are exploring Qadar not as a straitjacket of fate, but as a law of consequence.
A law of consequence.
A rational, predictable system that is actually required to underpin human accountability. Without a fixed system, there's no consequence, and so there's no responsibility.
So stability is a prerequisite for morality. I like that. Okay, let's start with that fixed system, because accountability genuinely does require predictability.
It does. The sources define this system as the Creator's predetermined cause and effect, often called Sunnat Allah, the way of God.
And this system guarantees that every input, physical or moral, will create a measurable output.
An inevitable and measurable output, yes.
So the guarantee is that if I put my hand on a hot stove,
You will get burned. That's the stability.
and if that law failed, if the stove sometimes burned me and sometimes, I don't know, healed me.
Then any idea of moral responsibility related to safety would just be nonsensical.
Okay, so this fixed system is the stable environment for us to act in.
Correct.
But here's where I think the friction always begins for people. If the system is so absolutely fixed, how can I genuinely be a free agent? It sounds like I'm running on rails.
And this is where the human comes in, with what the sources call the mandate of radical choice.
Mandate of radical choice.
Okay, within this fixed system, the Creator grants humanity a unique status, the status of trustee or khalifa.
And this trusteeship implies what?
Absolute sovereignty over your moral and intellectual decisions.
Absolute sovereignty. I mean, that's a huge weight. That suggests my choice isn't just some pre-programmed illusion.
It is not. The Creator provides two critical starting conditions for this. First, your intellect, the capacity for critical thinking.
Duh.
And second, your inherent will. These are the engines of your decision-making, and they are fully yours.
But isn't radical choice a bit scary? I mean, if I'm truly sovereign over my core actions, doesn't that sort of remove the comfort of ultimate divine planning?
It shifts the focus from comfort to responsibility. Look at Surah Al-Kahf, verse 29. Whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve.
Wow. That places the agency squarely on the human being.
Radically on the human being. The choice to initiate the chain of consequence is uncoerced. You choose to put the match to the paper, knowing Qadar dictates the result, the fixed law of the burn.
So the system is the predictable framework, but I'm the driver who chooses which road to take within that framework. My choice kicks off the consequence.
Absolutely. And this is so vital because it establishes the basis for accountability.
Yep.
You are only held responsible for the choice you initiated.
Not for the system that the creator established.
Correct.
So here's the logical paradox we always face. How does the creator's ultimate total knowledge and control actually mesh with my radical choice? Where do they interface?
Oh, it's a dynamic law, not a static decree. And the resolution, I think, is found in a key verse from Surah Arad.
What does the verse say?
It says, "Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves."
Wow. Okay, that shifts the entire responsibility equation.
It does.
It implies that our external reality is a mirror of our internal state. My choice is the trigger.
Precisely. The Creator does not intervene arbitrarily. He changes conditions in response to the human agent's input. We can break down the roles very neatly based on that verse.
Okay, let's define the inputs. What's the human role in this?
The human role is the moral input. It's the changing what is in themselves. The trustee chooses righteous work, amal salih, or chooses oppression, zulm.
And the creator's role?
The Creator's role through Qadar is the flawless execution of the consequence. If a society collectively chooses righteous work,
Then Qadar delivers prosperity and security.
and if they choose zulm, say, systemic corruption, Qadar executes the corresponding decline.
That makes the law of consequence terrifyingly efficient. It removes any argument of injustice.
It does.
The consequence delivered by the lawgiver is a direct, predictable, and just implementation of the law that was triggered by our own sovereign choice.
It means we are the primary agents of our own collective destiny. And so belief in Qadar shouldn't lead to paralysis.
It should lead to patience, trust.
Patience and trust in Allah's wisdom when adversity strikes, knowing that the system, though fixed, is perfectly just.
It's clear this framework is rational, and it encourages immense effort, both personal and collective. But this wasn't always the consensus, was it?
No, not at all.
For a time, this rationalism was challenged by other schools of thought.
Absolutely. When we look back at the Islamic Golden Age, say between the 8th and 13th centuries, this interpretation of Qadar, where human agency was paramount, was incredibly powerful.
So the pursuit of knowledge, of science, was seen as an act of faith.
It was celebrated as actively engaging with and appreciating Allah's fixed creation.
And who were the intellectual champions of this view?
They were the Mutazilites. They passionately championed human free will and, crucially, the robust use of reason, of aql.
Why was reason so important to them?
They believed our reason was necessary to understand divine justice, and they stressed ijtihad independent reasoning in solving new problems.
So they essentially said, the creator gave you a brain, use it to interact with the fixed laws he established.
Exactly. They believed that divine justice required that humans have full, uncoerced control over their choices. Only then could reward and punishment be fair.
And that gave people a huge impetus to strive and innovate.
It was a key catalyst for the scientific and cultural renaissance of that era.
So if that rational approach was so vibrant, so successful, what happened? What were the competing ideas that emerged?
Well, the intellectual landscape shifted. There were political pressures, internal strife, and really complex philosophical debates about reconciling divine omnipotence with human action.
And this led to more deterministic schools.
Highly deterministic schools, yes.
Can you give us an example of an extreme view?
The extreme end was the Jabriya. Their core assertion was that humans possess absolutely no free will.
None at all.
None. Every action, every thought is directly willed, created, and executed by Allah. They saw humans as well as feathers blowing in the wind of divine decree.
That sounds absolutely devastating to individual initiative.
It was.
I mean, if my striving for a scientific breakthrough or my effort at social reform is totally futile, why would I even bother? It seems to create enormous passivity.
It did. And the consequence of the Jabriya position was intellectual stagnation. If your effort is meaningless, why spend decades mastering complex fields like optics or medicine?
This fatalism, it led to a withdrawal from engaging with difficult worldly problems.
Yes, and slower economic growth, unresolved social challenges. It was a definite shift from the vibrancy of the Golden Age.
And then there was a middle ground, right? The Asherite school.
That's right. The Asherites tried to bridge the gap with an idea called cause, or acquisition.
Acquisition. How did that work?
They argued that Allah creates the action, but the human acquires or intends it.
So it creates a space for intention.
A theoretical space, yes, but in practice, it still heavily favored predestination. It tended to reduce the perceived importance of bold, independent, and critical human initiative.
So it seems history really shows that the way we interpret Qadar has very real, tangible societal consequences for progress.
It absolutely does. When the pendulum swung away from that concept of radical responsibility, it hampered the intellectual engine of the civilization.
Which brings us to today. The common phrase, everything is the will of Allah. I mean, it should be a source of comfort,
They should be.
but it still seems to lead many people into that trap of fatalism and inaction. So, how do we revive the active, balanced understanding of Qadar in a modern context?
The Quran itself continually demands action and critical engagement. It just doesn't allow for passivity.
It's not a spectator sport.
Not at all. We are asked, do they not reflect upon the Quran, or are there locks upon their hearts? And we are commanded to actively race to all that is good.
So, the belief in the grand fixed system actually requires me to be an active, contributing agent within that design.
Yes, your input is essential. There's a verse in Surah 9 that gives the ultimate directive. And say, do as you will, for Allah will see your deeds.
Your actions hold real, accountable significance.
Real significance.
So, practically, what does applying this balance look like today for someone listening?
It means reviving the spirit of ijtihad, that independent, critical reasoning applied to our contemporary challenges. Modern reformers like Jamal al-Din al-Afghani understood this perfectly.
They urged a blend of faith with modern intellect and science.
Exactly.
So applying this means in education, we shouldn't just do rote memorization. We should encourage true critical thinking.
And embracing science and technology as pathways to understanding the fixed laws of creation.
And also engaging in social development.
Crucially, we cannot just passively wait for conditions to change. We have to implement practical initiatives to address poverty, environmental degradation, governance issues.
Knowing that if we apply that righteous effort, that amal salih,
The law of consequence will deliver the corresponding positive change.
this harmonious vision really pulls it all together. Belief in Qadar is meant to provide spiritual serenity, easing the burden of worries about outcomes we can't control.
But that serenity is inextricably married to active participation. Our continuous conscious effort is essential.
When you embrace that balance, spiritual integrity and worldly success aren't in competition.
They become two sides of the same divinely ordained coin. It affirms the immense value of human effort while retaining trust in the ultimate controller of the system.
So, to quickly summarize for you, the learner, Qadar is not a straitjacket of predetermined fate.
No, it is the fixed, rational system, the immutable law of consequence, that makes our radical sovereign choices perfectly accountable.
And the key to resolving that tension is understanding that our choice is the necessary operational trigger.
The dynamic trust we see in Surah Ar-Ra'd. It is all about finding that profound equilibrium between absolute trust in the grand design and the conscientious effort required of every trustee.
Our final thought for you to mull over today is this. If the entire universe operates on fixed, predictable laws that perfectly mirror our moral input, then understanding Qadar transforms every ordinary experience.
Whether it's the pain of a failure or the joy of a success.
It becomes a direct feedback loop. It reinforces your connection with the divine by demanding both your intellect and your continuous striving, because the law of consequence is always watching and always responding to what you choose to put into the system.